Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Faith. Good to see you.
Hey, Faith.
We like we did last time, we had some homework. We had to do some reading. We'll quickly go around and see if anybody wants to share what really stuck out to them in the pages we had to read this last 2 weeks. So I'm going to start. Last Thursday, we had an unfortunate situation with the company I'm employed with. We, due to the economy and the pending looming recession, we had to cut our workforce by 20%. So obviously that sent everybody, those who were downsized and those who were not, kind of into a spiral. And one of the questions asked in this book is actually on page 63, which I've been trying to focus on since last Thursday, is how do I provide meaning to others, right? Those of us that are left, and think about it in the Grange, right? Those of us that are left in the Grange, we have 3 Granges that are brand new with a lot of new members. How do we create the meaning? What's the right? How do I provide meaning to them? Right? I bring history, I bring knowledge, they bring energy. So how do we meld those together and give them the opportunity to flourish and take our organization to where it hasn't been before? What last time we had a real boom in membership, culture in society was totally different. So how do I provide meaning to others is what resonated with me. Anybody else want to share?
Chair.
Okay.
I was very taken aback by the saying on page 49. I am only one, but I am still one. I'm a big believer in that. All it takes is one person to get the ball rolling or to start doing something and to do whatever it is we can, even though it may be a small step, but just to keep that momentum and to keep going and to just not stop. So I liked that. I also liked the whole concept of gratitude. I think saying thank you and meaning it is a big part of leadership.
And sometimes the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Robin. That's a great one. Thank you.
Jody?
Yes, sir.
Following up on your points, and I think it was on page 33, I think. Maybe if I put my glasses on, I can read it better. Yeah, page 33. And it was the last paragraph there that says, knowing that we must ask ourselves, are we the ones that they turn to? And the part I really liked about that was, no matter what happens, do we have the grit to be graceful? Because I think that's sometimes what it takes to get us through those difficult times, to be graceful to those people that are having a hard time, to get your point across. And I just think that's the follow-up to what you're leading on, having to lay people off.
I think it dawned on me when I read the this part about gratitude. Number one, to me, gratitude is a kind of a two-way street. You have to be grateful for where you are, but also, and what got you to that position. But you also have to be grateful to the people that you're working with, because they are the ones that you want to support you and keep you in that position. So one, it's a two-way street. And to your point, Jody, I think that looking at the new Grangers and the new reformed Granges, is very important to our future, because obviously they have something that perhaps the rest of us are struggling with, because where perhaps some of us are in Granges that aren't growing, they're in Granges that are growing, and we have to bring them into the fold and listen to what they're doing and learn how to do it.
At the same time, Bob, they have to bring us into the fold.
Amen. It's everything is a two-way street. It's a give and a take.
So
Well-
I'm afraid that we're encroaching heavily on Faith's presentation. So we're gonna move on, because all she'll say is, yeah, I agree, and sit back. But so anybody else want to share?
I'll jump in. A couple of two different things, actually. Last meeting, Robin had said about leadership being service driven. And I think that's heavily reflected in this particular chapter. I accidentally read the book before we even started having the seminar, thinking that, the whole thing was going to be homework, and then, found out that we would break down 25 pages at a time. I found that this particular chapter actually resonated with me the most out of any other in the book. About the gratitude and service from leadership through service. And then secondly, about the new Grange being a brand spanking new member, and in a, newly reformed Grange with like 30 something new members. Sorry, that's my dog whining in the background. And like one returning member, is that we don't really have any choice but to grow. We were but a seed, and now we are barely even a seedling. So I really feel like we're at our most delicate stage because we haven't been hardened off yet.
Hi, Jody.
Yes, sir, George.
I just saw that Betsy Hubert, our national president, joined us. Maybe
Oh.
you'd like to introduce her?
Absolutely. So George gives us a great segue in introducing the national president of the National Grange, Betsy Huber. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Jody. I just thought
Welcome,
I'd,
Betsy.
You've read the 5 graces of life and leadership, I assume.
no, I actually haven't.
You really should.
I know, I plan to, but I haven't got a hold of the book yet.
So Bob came back from Masters Conference and was talking about it, and the Hamps were talking about it. So that's one of the foundations we're using for our leadership academy. And we spend the first 10-15 minutes just discussing the what we've read in the pages that we were quote unquote assigned between sessions. So that's what you're hearing now. So
Mhm.
and tonight Faith Quinlan is going to be doing a presentation on membership growth and development, or retention. Which is it? It's one of those two. I'm sorry, I forget. Retention. Membership retention. So all right, back to the reading. Does anybody else want to share?
Well, I like the line that talked about a leader's day job was to ensure people feel better after every conversation. I thought that was very interesting, because when you talk with some leaders, you feel not better after having talked with them, and some people know how to magically make you feel better after you talked with them. It's not like you got anything from them. It's just that they know how to make you feel better. It's very it's hard to put your finger on how people do that.
And some people feel better when they're done talking to me.
If it's okay, I would like to speak to what Carol just said. One of the things I'm going to speak about is actually people feeling heard. And I think that's part of when you feel like a leader makes you feel better. Sometimes you feel like they heard what you said They may be able to change it. They may not be able to change it. They may try to change it. They, you know, there's something is going to come of it, but at least they accepted your message and you said, you know, this isn't going right, or this needs to change, or whatever your message is to the leader. And I think part of feeling better is just knowing, okay, they didn't blow me off. They didn't tell me shut up. They actually listened. And I think that is crucial, along with the gratitude. I'm all in the gratitude with this conversation.
All right.
Jody, I also think as a follow-up to that section was that one of the things that they said worked well was that you gave people options that they felt when they left the meeting. You weren't just telling them no, but they had options on how to succeed. And I think that's something that a good leader tries to do. And I think sometimes when we as Grangers, we say, no, it's always this way, and we need to give options and look at new things.
Absolutely. All right. So the other portion of our homework was to be conscious of at least one of our 5 character strengths. Did anybody find themselves in a situation where they noticed one of their 5 character strengths? Mine this week was honesty, because my staff didn't believe me that I didn't know what was going on. So we had to have a very honest conversation about trust. So, you know, so mine was, I was very sensitive to how I conveyed the message without degrading or downplaying the situation that was happening to everyone else around us, and not overplaying the fact that we were still there. So I took particular note of how I utilized honesty in that situation. Anyone else?
Mine was leadership. I'm getting ready for a reverse shoulder repair, or actually replacement. And I'm finding I'm used to making all my own appointments and so on and so forth. And in this case, everybody else does it. And I have to just go along for the ride and say yes. And it's very hard when you're not normally in that position.
Interesting. All right. Well, without further ado, it is our pleasure to welcome Faith Quinlan with us this evening. She's going to talk to us, give us her thoughts and hopefully things that are going to be thought-provoking to us on membership retention. Faith, so good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
If everybody would mute for her presentation, that'd be great.
So I first wanted to say that when I found out about the leadership, this program, I got really excited because I think it's just a great idea, and it seems like there's such a really engaged group. And I apologize for missing the first 2, but I'm in it now. What came to mind though is I'm a communications major, right? That's a default degree. I joke as a fortunate person to have gone to college. But one of the things I learned that quick came to mind when we were talking about leadership was this story about NASA when the space shuttle blew up in the 80s. And I apologize. I was more excited about what happened in the communication and less about the names and such. But one of the things that happened was there was a miscommunication. There was a leadership issue. And it made such a big impression on me, because what happened was the people, we'll say at the lower levels, the people who were building the mechanics of this ship, the people who were, testing, the people who were building, testing, making, they knew early on that there was an issue with something called these O-rings, that they were not going to stand the pressure, the heat, the changes. They knew there was going to be a problem. and they were talking, but it never raised to the top. And so was the shuttle explosion preventable? Absolutely. Did they know there was a problem? Did the top know? Nope. So they changed their whole dynamic of communication to fit so that that information had a way to get to the top, and the information from the top had a way to get to the bottom, so that everybody was, you know, on the same page. And I think in any organization that's crucial, because if the people, you know, and the flack, right, the people who are in the, you know, what's going on, wait, there's a problem, this isn't working, we need help. So I see that we're not, you know, we're not nearly as bad as NASA was. That's pretty horrible. But I do sometimes think that communication is the name of the game with leadership. You gotta, you know, and obviously not everything can be communicated to everybody. And, you know, let's be realistic in our world. There's so much information. But anyway, so that's my leadership little story there. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk to you about membership retention. And I just want to give you a couple notes. I'm gonna, I have a Google slide presentation, and I wanted you to know that I use member and volunteer interchangeably. I do that because that's, I guess I always want to remember we're volunteers, right? Sometimes as a member, you feel like, okay, you're locked into this, you know, but they are still volunteers, right? And we still have to remember like some of the graces that would come when you appreciate the gratitude of someone who's giving up their time and energy. So, and the presentation, it's gonna seem a little less me chitter chatter like I am now, a little more of it written down. And the reason I did that was in case anyone wanted to share it. If there's other people who wanted to see it, it's all written. They don't need my NASA story. And then I also have a few quotes. Yeah, I also have a few quotes from the book on my presentation. So now I will begin. Let's see. So, membership retention, Connecticut State Grange. Gaining and retaining members in a volunteer organization is crucial for its success. Start off with the simple message. The 3 steps to member retention success. Meaningful and impactful work. Volunteers are more likely to stay engaged and committed when they feel their efforts make a tangible difference. Providing volunteers with meaningful work that aligns with their skills and interests is key. Assigning tasks that allow volunteers to see the impact they are making and connecting them to the organization's mission can be highly motivating. Regularly communicate the achievements and outcomes resulting from their contributions, reinforcing their sense of purpose and value of their involvement. So I feel like these 3 are really simple. They're general statements that can be applied in various different ways within your Grange. But ultimately, in 2023, and I think there isn't really an age associated connection to this. I know there is a lot said about certain age groups being more caring about whatever, but we know that's not true. We know that goes across all age groups. And everyone wants to feel like they're part of something, and they want to know like whether they brought a bag of clothes for clothing, you know, just a follow-up, right, at the next meeting. I think we're pretty good at this. At most of the meetings I've attended, most of the people I talk to, everyone does share the good news about the success of whatever project everyone's working on. But it's just a reminder that is a piece. It just reinforces like, hey, I did something with them and wow, something good came of it. And then that information, of course, for me, it always means something because it gets shared.
Hey, Faith,
So
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Back, if you can go back one.
Yeah. Maybe. Yes.
You say reinforce their sense of purpose and the value of their involvement, right?
Yes.
So somebody like me who is typically rather matter of fact, and unfortunately, you know, and I'm referring to my professional life, my work life. My opinion is that, you know, every week you get thanked for doing a good job when you get your paycheck, right? So I honestly don't do that well without it feeling phony.
Well,
Any
I would say you
suggestions?
don't get a paycheck, right? That's why volunteer was used throughout the presentation. Just a reminder that that is really sometimes the only payment. Like the payment, sure, it is. I've done this thing, I feel good, right? But when you're thinking about retention, you're thinking like, oh, that felt good. You know, wait, our phones are dopamine hits, right? So we like the dopamine hit of, you know, good job or thanks for your help. And it doesn't have to be phony. It can be just as simple as like, wow, that, you know, we had a bigger donation or we had a bigger event or we didn't have to work as hard or, you know, I mean, you can genuinely feel a sense of telling them. I think in this case, I'm really speaking more to telling them how it all worked out. But I will get to what you're
okay.
alluding to right now. But
Well, like I said, I feel like I'm being phony. So, you know, at times, and I don't want that. I don't want that message to come across. So sorry to interrupt.
But I mean, are you grateful? Like when extra, you know, members that haven't, you know, start showing up and doing more dinners or, you know, somehow are participating more. I mean, you genuinely feel like, you know, hey, thanks a lot, right? You're genuinely pleased that they're there. And then you can say, we sold 150, we sold this many dollars, we sold. So, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. I wouldn't want you to be phony, Jody. Nobody wants that. So I wanted to kind of come back to the book because there were so many like amazing quotes in the book that it was hard to pick. So I just chose when people, I do have the page on there, page 36. When people are told, we couldn't have done this without you, the message delivered is, you are loved. I know that might be a little ooey gooey for someone like Jody. But you know, it is, the message is like, hey, we like having you around, keep coming back. So all right, so for the second message, recognition and appreciation. Recognizing and appreciating volunteers for their time, skills, and commitment is essential for membership retention. People want to feel valued and acknowledged. Acknowledge their efforts through personalized thank you notes, public recognition during meetings or events, certificates, awards, or other forms of appreciation. Encourage peer-to-peer recognition as well, fostering a culture of gratitude within the organization. So what I was talking about before was more of a, like, tell them what was the success. And usually if they attend the next Grange meeting, they know what the success was and whatever they participated in. Usually that's announced. But, and in this case, it's really like, I'm kind of saying, speaking to what Jody was asking, like, you know, don't be, you know, if it's not true, if you can't say it without feeling silly, then don't say it. But if you're like, hey, I'm glad you showed up today, you know, or, hey, that was some good work. That was helpful. Thanks for helping me lift the table. Thanks for, you know, whatever. It seems simple, but it's just to remember that it's not complicated. Membership retention, actually, the more I dug, and let me tell you, I was all over the internet these past 2 weeks, like just trying to find, like, is there a secret? What's the secret sauce? You know, what is it? There's no secret sauce. You know, it's listen and tell people they did a good job and thank them for participating. It's really, it is simple. We can have more complex things with awards and, as this suggests, as I suggest here, like, giving them things, but, we do that already. I'm not suggesting there would need to be more of that. It's our communication with them. It's our interaction with them. It's, do they feel welcome? Do they feel appreciated? Do they feel like, hey, they're glad I'm here today? Or are you, not saying hello and not really, interacting with them? And I guess like I said, it's simple, but it's important to acknowledge these things. Again, from the book on page 50, it's the secret to sustainable success. When people are recognized, they're happy. This book does do a lot of that happy, gushy stuff, Jody. When people are recognized, they're happy. They're motivated. They're more likely to outperform. Our gratitude lifts others up. Gratitude makes all the difference. So when you were talking about gratitude earlier, it's the name of the game. We all are stretched for time. We all are overcommitted. It's as United States, I don't know if it's the whole world, but I know in the United States, everyone is stretched beyond capacity. And taking the time and someone just saying, hey, thanks for giving us that. It's not more complicated. And then development and engagement. Providing opportunities for volunteer development and engagement can significantly enhance membership retention. Offer training sessions, workshops, webinars that enhance the volunteers' skills. They gain new knowledge or develop professionally. Create a sense of belonging and community by organizing social events, team building activities, or networking opportunities. Regularly seek input and feedback from the volunteers, allowing them to have a voice in the decision-making and actively involve them in the organization's planning and execution processes. So it's getting them more involved, right? So we are, and asking what they want. So this kind of covers a few different things. What are they interested in? And are there other people in your Grange that are interested in that same thing? If they offer up a suggestion, to take that suggestion and say, okay, let's see, can we do that? Is that reasonable? Instead of saying, oh, we tried that before and it didn't, we don't want that stuff. What we want to be able to say is, okay, listen, last time we did it this way. Do you think there's another way we could do it? Engaging them so that they feel like a bigger part of things. I wanted to have some magic sauce and some miracle, unicorn that would appear, and I would have the thing that would make it all sound so simple, but this is it. This is my unicorn. This is my it is engage them, speak with them, okay, what are we doing? Something like this, right? How many the more people find out that this has happened and that it was a success, then we can do it again. And then there's another opportunity to pull people in. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay, that's a thing, and it becomes something that is unifying and then opens up bigger discussions. I mean, I was really excited about the discussions I was hearing you have at the beginning here. So, yeah.
Just
Yes.
a point in your second paragraph, they're offered training sessions and workshops
Yes.
and webinar. I think we in the Grange really need to look at this, because how many times have we taken a new member, thrown them into an office and expected them to just know how to do that office without ever showing them how to do it or working with them? And how many members have we lost when we've done that? And I think we as leaders in the Grange need to look at that and remember that there's a training. Not everybody came up since they were 14 years old and are just expected to know.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important point that we sometimes miss as Grange leaders.
Absolutely. Well, because if you don't know what's going on, you're going to be frightened. You could be frightened away if you're put into a role like that and you don't have any preparation for it. And that's something in time, I feel like there could be videos like this, something to consider in the future is something, at least they would have kind of a how-to. Like I know Todd has done for the secretaries, he's done some trainings to really kind of get everybody on the same page with how things are done, and that some of the newer people were able to attend and really just start to get the basics of like, okay, what's going on. And that could be something for the future, is to have a prepared, here are the basics of the role, the expectations, resources, something like that. So that, because I think when Reading went in, it was a little like, everyone was like, wait, what does that person do? It was really intimidating. It was very intimidating. So that's a good point. Thank you, Phil. When an organization is truly inclusive, everyone's perspective and input matters. People know it's safe to speak their truth. Conflict about what people perceive isn't discouraged. That's how collective genius is born. People are empowered to ask not just why, but also why not. Think not only in probability, but also in possibility. This requires more than just encouraging a behavior. It must be a cultural muscle that gets exercised. Yeah, I think that's overall the sense of feeling included, and then having opportunities. And they're all things that already exist. It's just recognizing as a new person, coming in, how are we listening? Specific, each Grange only has so many new members at a time. Some of the newer ones have a lot more at a time, but often it's, I know at Winchester, it's 2 at a time or 3 at a time. And so you have time to really get to know those people and what their interests are, and connect them to the other Grangers who might have the same interest. And there's enough time to get them, if they, into a seat, if they would like to, and prepare them. So, because I had kind of anticipated Jody saying something. Okay, let me move on to the bonus tip. Communication and flexibility. Maintaining open and transparent communication channels is crucial for membership engagement and retention. Regularly updating members on Grange news, events, and opportunities. Ensure that members have access to a point of contact for questions, concerns, or suggestions. Flexibility in scheduling task assignments can also contribute to member retention, as it accommodates various commitments and preferences. Remember that every member is unique, and understanding their motivations and needs is essential for effective member retention. Regularly assess the organization's strategies and adapt them as needed to ensure a positive and fulfilling volunteer experience. So we spoke to this a little bit. The flexibility in scheduling, I don't know if we've got a ton of that, but if it's an event and someone wants to be there, we could, we can include them in the discussion on when the event might happen. But task assignments, I suppose, if they're always in the kitchen and they want to be somewhere else, or, these are all conversations that can be had. All right. And then, because I was waiting for a comment on participation awards, I summed it up with, you don't need to give out participation awards. You need a big cup full of thank you and a generous helping of, what are your thoughts on this? You're a member too. What felt good to hear or do or experience that made you keep coming back? So we can have more of that, please. That I feel like sums up, the being gracious, being being inclusive, and, really just, actually go back to the, 1 second. And just thinking about what else they need. Does this seem doable, realistic? does it seem, I know it seems simple. It seems simple to me. Is it as simple? Do you find it as simple? I'm gonna stop sharing. As I do conceptually, I guess. I'd be curious, what do you think I'm missing? What do you think? What would you add?
Hi, Faith. I'm Robin. Unfortunately, my camera isn't working, so I apologize. But I'm one of the new, I'm a fairly new to the Grange, and I'm the president of Wallingford, which is one of the newer Granges. And I was very interested in what you were saying tonight, because obviously membership is big for us. And we have found that we've been doing a lot of flexibility around a lot of things, especially even our meeting nights. So we have one meeting a month that's fixed. And so that's our second Thursday of the month. That one's fixed. We have that all the time. And then we always try and have one or two additional events or meetings that float. And they are somewhere else, some other time, maybe a Saturday afternoon, maybe a Sunday morning, maybe a weeknight. And we've been finding that we get a lot more people because it better meets their schedules.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So from a flexibility standpoint, I thought that was really key, and resonated with me as one of the things we've been trying to do in Wallingford. We've also had the unique opportunity that we couldn't really be in our building for a while. So we had to be very flexible and use whatever space we could find,
Right.
to meet. And so that drove some of that in the beginning, but members seemed to like the fact that OA, if they happen to always work on a Saturday morning, or they always worked on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night, they knew they had the opportunity to attend at some other point in time. So that's one of the things I wanted to comment on from what you talked about. Thanks.
Yes, thank
Ro-
you. No, that's
Robin,
amazing.
Yeah.
next time you guys meet in a brewery, let me know in advance.
We're gonna not have a meeting, but we are gonna have another social event
Sure.
on June 29th at Center Street Brewery.
Good
If
for
you'd
you.
like to join us, I'll send you the information.
Well, unfortunately, I can't, but that evening,
Oh, yes.
so.
Dave, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Faith. You asked, was there anything missing? And I kind of want to give it to you from my perspective. I think, and I'm a 47-year Grange member, believe it or not, even though I was away for most of those years. And but I think one of the things that is really important for retention, as well as our next class on growth, you have to make Grange relevant to people. If they don't see the relevance of it, they're not going to join. So why should it matter to them? And what should matter to them? And just an example that I think I mentioned 2 weeks ago is with Granby Grange. We basically went to the community of Granby and said, do you realize your Grange is shutting down? They're going to turn their charter in. Do you really want that to happen in a community that added 2 farms in the last 5 years, that has 46 farms and has great historic relevance? And luckily the community said no. And I really liked, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Jody, but I really liked what Jody Cameron said, that you have to blend the 2 worlds. And the members that have survived, as well as the new members. And I know in my home Grange of Riverton, sometimes bump up against this because I try to be flexible. But so I think, why should it matter to people? And then the final thing, and this is from Phil Prelli, who stuck this in my head, you have to offer impactful community service. People want to be involved when you're serving the community. And the example I'll give, I mentioned we just had tonight, and I'm posting as we're having class, our 24th Veteran of the Month ceremony. We had 11 Riverton Grange members at that ceremony tonight. That's only 4 less than we had at our last Riverton Grange meeting, which I think is phenomenal. But in addition to 11 members, we had about 30 members that were not Grange members that were really appreciative of the Grange. And when we talk about membership retention, National Grange as well as State Grange has so many great programs to encourage people to get involved, whether it's the Patriots program that Loretta Washington does with us, or this weekend, the walk that Ailey and others from 5 different Granges participated in that Dawn Anster. You know, you gotta give people something that they see is really going to help their community. Historically, I think we've done that, but as we try to retain and then next set class grow, I think that community service is so important.
Mhm. Yeah. that is
Next
great.
is
Thank you.
Ailey, Faith.
Yeah.
So I'm going to touch on the participation trophy comment. And I'm a 30-year adult Girl Scout volunteer, and I've done everything from, I didn't actually start leading troops until I was about halfway through that, but I've been a service unit manager, a membership chairperson, a trainer of trainers, and I still do. I don't have a troop anymore. I haven't had a troop in quite a long time, but I do adventure programs and I'm an archery coach. I'm a Team USA Olympic archery coach, in fact.
Wow.
And you cannot say thank you enough.
Mm.
I mean, I'm a dog owner, or I should say I'm a dog guardian. And you pet your dog on the head and you say, good boy. What's he do? He sits down and waits for the next thing you want him to do. He keeps coming back for more. You cannot thank people enough. And I don't care if it feels dorky, do it. If you got to fake it till you make it and do it until it feels genuine, it will come, and it'll become easier to just thank people for whatever they're giving you. If it's a little bit, if it's a lot of it, drop your expectations, because people are going to meet them anyway, because your expectations are your level of involvement. Meet them where they're at, make it easy for them to serve, and thank them for it. And they'll come back and do more, because that's what that relevance is where you're going to meet that relevance. And then listening to people to find out what is relevant to them, that's really important. But like, thank people a lot.
Thank you. Yes.
And Karen McDonald, yeah. You're on mute, Karen. You're still on mute, Karen.
There she is.
Thank
Hey.
you. Greenfield Hill Grange. We're very fortunate after years and years of revitalizing. We have a large active group, a good 15 to 20 people attending every meeting, very dedicated. What I'm wanting to express is at each meeting, there's lots of energy that goes into discussing the current issue, the current project, like a building crisis, or what's the next fundraiser, or the agricultural fair. So a lot of energy goes into that. When things come up about paying money to the Connecticut State Grange, that's a very sore subject. And I often hear comments like, well, what do they do for us? My frustration is that I try to be very active in Pomona and the State Grange as I can, and I'm forever trying to share to encourage member retention. There are so many opportunities at the Pomona level and at the state level. When I look at the Blue Book, all the contests are there. And I guess that's my point, is wishing that somehow we could share that there is a role for any interest, any skill level How can we share the word about getting them to participate more in these other opportunities? I think that would help with membership retention instead of just very serious projects all the time. Thank you.
Yeah. I think I love all those contests. It took me a little bit before I knew, as a new member, it took me a little bit before I knew about all of them. And I thought, I can, there's some really cool things we do. There's some really cool things. Phil, did you want to speak?
Unmute. In talking about contests, Phil and I can both relate, really Jody too. It was the youth contests and other things that got us into this and kept going.
Mm.
And the involvement with the Pomona contest and the state contests and everything. We both started, as junior Grangers and probably going to Grange as an infant, actually. So, but it was a lot of the activities, the youth degree teams where we learned how to present a meeting and everything else. And I'm using that a lot now and everything. So, yeah, getting people involved in not just their local Grange, but in some of the other upper things that we can reach out to them and do.
That's right. That's right.
I think one of the things that you brought up, and I think that it's a key that we keep forgetting about in Grange, is that we have to communicate with one another. We have to get the word out more of what we're doing and how we're doing it. We have to use new methods of communications. The internet is so great and email is so great, and we can get the word out. But we can only get the word out if we know your email address. And if so many Grangers don't want us to spread that word. It's so easy. And Dave Roberts has done a great job at Riverton of being able to send an email out to everybody and saying, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. If you want to keep your members active, you have to tell them what you're doing. And we need to get that word out to them. And then every so often, and some of us have a hard time with that, we have to listen to what they actually say and come back and how we might change some of our programs. And some of us have a harder time with that than others. But I think you brought that up, but I think we sort of went over it quickly. The communication should be across the line to everybody and in both directions. And I think that helps Karen with what does the State Grange do for me? How many people in the State Grange know we're doing this leadership program and how I think it's been successful so far.
Yes. Listen, so some of what, I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. I don't think we need to come up with, it's a matter of what are we doing? Again, communication, but then also just it's the thank yous, like Allie was also saying, it's really, the key to it is acknowledging, particularly with new members, right? If it's a member you've known for a while, you've already got a rapport. You know why they're doing it, why you're doing it, and you'll probably thank them anyway. If they're more than likely a friend or a colleague, someone that you have done things with before. And so when we're thinking about, but not to discount it. I mean, everyone deserves a thank you and everyone deserves it, to be part of it. But a lot of the message isn't out there. And that's how we boost relevance, I think, is, all the things that have been mentioned, all the different things that are going on and just trying to get that out. And I know that's a battle. Just having talked with Terry and having tried to get messages out myself, it can be difficult, not, having emails, Facebook, Terry Fazio has done a few court classes on that, trying to get the message out that way. It's one avenue, right? But it really, if each Grange has their own avenue, then it does simplify it so that everyone in that Grange knows what's going on. And if that's communication systems working, then it's about receiving from national, from the state, from other Granges, what's going on. And, we do have we have so many tools, but it still feels like a lot of stuff falls through the cracks and people don't know that it exists or that it's happening, which is unfortunate.
If I could speak for a second, Faith?
Yes, there you are.
Just to kind of talk about what you're saying, we do have a lot of things that we offer the various Granges. I mean, we send out an email once a month. We sometimes twice a month or more than that, depending on what's going on in the month and everything that's happening. We have our website. It's relatively up to date. It's a really large website. And sometimes the committees don't send us stuff to put up right away. So somebody will say, hey, I'm looking for whatever, and it might not be there, or it might be there. But it depends on, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's all a bigger group effort, but all the other pieces all play into each other. So what you expect from one spot might be in another spot just because of the various pieces and how they fall. But we have a lot of tools that we do offer to the Granges, and sadly, not all the Granges use these tools or even know about these tools as hard as we try to get the word out. We have a lot of Granges, I would say probably not quite a third, but which is a large amount when you only have 30 something Granges, who are not computer literate. These Granges don't use email. They don't have a computer or anybody in their Grange who wants to use the computer. They're not on Facebook. They are old school, doing it the old way. You have to mail them things through the physical mail if you want to get that information to them. I mean, these are the Granges that we're lucky they're still around in a sense, because they're kind of in their own bubble. And we have to think about, you think it's like, oh, well, we could just email this, or we could put it on Facebook, or we can, put it on the website or whatever. But these other Granges, they don't have that, and they don't want to have that. So we have to kind of incorporate them into this mix as well. So it's really a very complicated picture when you think of Grange communications as a whole. And then you take the various levels into consideration as well. There's really a lot of pieces that fall into this greater puzzle. And when you talk about relevance and things being relevant, that kind of falls into play here too, because everybody has a different idea of what is relevant. To somebody at Preston City Grange, what they find to be relevant, and to somebody at Econk Grange or Cheshire Grange or Winchester Grange, that might be something totally different. So I think you've got to look at the bigger picture when you're talking Grange relevancy, because it's not the same for every Grange. So that's my soapbox.
Jody?
Yes, George.
I think right now we got communications that goes out pretty steadily. We got our paper that used to only go to people that would pay for it. Now all the members get our paper once a month. I know Todd works hard to get it out on time, and I think it's a benefit for our Grange. Plus the emails that Terry sends out, National Grange sends out. If you want to get on National Grange, they'll send you their emails. So the information is there. People just have to know to look where to look for it and how to connect to it.
Maybe we could put something in the Granger on how to sign up for some of the emails. It should be a short little thing,
I think Terry can work on something. Hint, hint.
I think it dawns on me that the more we can use the Granger, since everybody, computer literate or not, gets the Granger. And another reflection I had is when people ask, what do the upper levels of the Grange do for the subordinate Grange? The subordinates really owe their existence to the upper levels as much as the upper levels owe their existence to the subordinates. If the Grange is going to work properly, it has to be a two-way street of communication. The lower has to feed into the upper, and the upper has to feed back to the lower. And that's probably part of our weakness today, is that doesn't happen as well as it could. It's not to say it doesn't happen, it does, but it probably isn't happening as well as it could. And maybe that is where we need to look in terms of Pomona, because Pomona's the connection between the two, and everybody's like, oh, what are we doing with Pomona? What's the purpose of Pomona? Well, Pomona's there to connect the two. And it now is not always doing that, but I think maybe that is part of the solution to the overall problem, or I would hope it could be, let's say.
All right, well, we're approaching the last 5 minutes of our hour, and we do want to be sensitive to everybody's time. We don't generally call on closing comments, but Betsy, would you like to add or say something to the group? Now remember, it's about gratitude tonight and member retention, so be nice to us.
It's just been a very interesting discussion. I appreciate all of your thoughts, and I'm making note of them in my head. So I really appreciate your having this leadership training. It's a great thing. I wish that every state would do it.
Well, to be honest, we brought this home from National. Mark, can't think of his last name off the top of my head. Potomac. He actually made the suggestion for National to do this, and we were able to, not to steal anybody's thunder, but or their limelight, but we were able to pull something together. And like we said from the beginning, nobody's going to walk away with a certificate or a degree in leadership. We want this to just be an open discussion, thought-provoking, and make our daily lives and possibly our jobs, our homes, and our Granges better. That's our goal. So,
That's great.
Faith, we can't thank you enough. Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you.
Our reading assignment is chapter 2, the entire chapter. Okay, and our homework, if you will, is I'd like everybody, and that means you don't just not come on next time because I gave you something to do. I'd like everybody to give somebody some positive feedback and tell us about the reaction next time. Okay, and Ailey, you're the one who actually created the homework with how you talked about patting your dog on the head, and he's waiting for the next command. So I can tell you tomorrow when I go to work, I'm going to pat my employees on the head and tell them they're good boys. So
do that correctly, Jody. If they're girls, don't pat them on the head and say good boy.
valid.
I think Rainey might like that too much though, Dad.
He probably will. So, but anyway, anybody have anything before we go?
This is really great. I want to thank everybody who's involved for everything that they have contributed, and I just think this is a beginning. I see this continuing in the future, and just this particular course as a start of a movement, if you will, and I hope and that will come to fruition. You should copyright and trademark the whole program, Jody, and maybe you can become a millionaire or something, I don't know.
I'll hit the circuit. So
Dave still has his hand up.
Yep, I see Dave's hand up. So
Jody, since I have this austin group, I thought I would remind everybody, as I did at the beginning, next Sunday at 7 p.m. we have our Connecticut State Grange sponsored webinar, Just the Facts on Hemp and Cannabis. And I know next time we meet, the topic is on membership growth. And when we were recruiting the 30 plus new members for Granby Grange, the number one question I was asked by folks was, what's the national Grange policy on hemp and cannabis? So I, think you should at least have the knowledge and the facts This resulted actually from a resolution at National Grange where a policy committee was set up. Because we don't have a conference in the Northeast region this year, we're doing it remotely, but it's going to be open to anybody. So invite members, invite potential members, just to have a factual conversation on what's going on hemp and cannabis. So I think it'd be really helpful for folks.
Well, we will not be on, Jody Ann and I, because we will be celebrating that evening our 35th wedding anniversary. So
Well, happy anniversary.
thank you. So
We'll miss you.
I've been able to shape her and mold her, so I gotta be good to her. She said that she wanted me to take her somewhere for our anniversary where they make dinner right in front of you. So I'm gonna take her to Subway.
Poor Jody Ann.
You're so thoughtful, Jody.
You said that joke last night and it didn't work either.
Shut up.
On behalf of the board of directors, I'm going to send Jody Ann the condolences arrangement on behalf of your anniversary.
Thank you, Todd.
I can assure you, she's the one who was shaped and molded. It hasn't been me. But all right, my friends. Until we meet next time, remember our homework assignment. And next time, the current membership director, Shelley Cameron, will be speaking to us. And that'll be one of her first public presentations. So looking forward to that as well. Unless anybody has anything else, we're going to bid everybody a fond evening.